Well, hello, my friend. It's a crypto lunatic, and today I'm taking you back into Degen territory, and I found this little exchange called the Shadow Exchange. So I'm going to explain how I found it, what it does, and why I think it might be something worth looking at. So, with all of that in mind, and the fact that I'm not invested in Shadow, they're not paying me to do this video, and this is not investment advice. With all of that in mind, why don't you join me on a little journey into the shadow? Join me and my shadow. So, the first thing, I went onto DeFi Llama. Now, I believe that Sonic is an up and coming chain. It used to be Phantom, and it's been lying a little bit low lately. But I think that this could be a little gem, and I do believe it's going to be pumping at some stage in this cycle. So here we can see if we go to Sonic that yes, there's been a little bit of a pullback lately, but there's a decent amount of value locked considering the size of the chain. And there has been a little bit of volume. I mean, especially there was around here. Now we've had a little bit of a pullback lately because of the market. So let's go back and talk about the market before I even go into this. Here is the one I like to look at. This is ETF inflow. And we see here that there is still massive amounts of smart money going into Bitcoin, which tells me that the market is in a good state of affairs. Could there be a pullback? Yes, there could, but the smart money is still piling into Bitcoin, which is always interesting to note. And if we go here and we look at the long short ratios, then what we notice with this data is that people are starting to suspect maybe a little sneaky long coming in, but it's still largely 50-50, which means that the market makers aren't going to be massively motivated one way or the other at the moment. So anyway, back to Sonic. So I went down here and I saw what's happening on this chain. I saw that there's one exchange making over half of the revenue on Sonic at the moment, and that's Shadow Exchange. And it made me think, is this a big exchange? Is Shadow a big exchange? So I clicked on it there and we come to here. And what we see is that in monthly fees, this thing has been generating some serious amounts of moolah. So look, 2.5 million in revenue in May alone, 2.2 million in revenue in April, almost 4 million in revenue in March, 5 million in revenue in February. So how big is this exchange that's making all of this revenue? Because that's pretty impressive numbers. And then we go to see Shadow and we see it's a market cap of 15 million. How can such a little tiny exchange be generating so many fees? And why isn't it pumping? What is going on here? So this has got me asking questions. So what we do, we look at the total supply and we see that that's 3 million of shadow. And here we see that the percentage of supply in circulation is only 3.62%. Now that's terrible tokenomics, terrible. And to put that in perspective, even though there's only a 14 million market cap, that makes it a fully diluted value of 433 million. So this aspect of Shadow is not great. In fact, that's an understatement. The tokenomics are absolutely abysmal on this one. But let's keep looking. Let's have a little look in. So we'll go to SoulScan and see what that's about. And of course, that's the other part. That's Nansen, um, which tells us that there's a high balance here. But here's the bit that's interesting. For such a low cap coin, there's over 50% liquidity. For a tiny little market cap, a tiny market cap of 14 million, there's over half of that in liquidity. And SoulScan will show us that there's one big wallet. We go to holders here. We go to holders and we see that there's one big wallet sitting on 88.5%. Now, this isn't great. It really isn't. But if we go here and we look at all, we see that when it started trading, it was 43 million. And that was back on the 3rd of May. Was that the 3rd of May? That was, in fact, the 1st of May. And here we are, and it's trading on pretty much the same amount. So it hasn't really done anything yet, but it's making a lot of profit. We could see that. It's cleaning up profit-wise. So we then click on to social media. We look at their X account and we see there's a reasonable amount of followers. It's not massive, but for a tiny little market cap coin, we see that their pinned tweet has got a reasonable amount attached to it. And this was released yesterday and has reasonable engagement that they have on here. So without going into massive, deep research, this is definitely a reason to take a look at Shadow Exchange because it looks pretty interesting. Just from very base level research, from the fact that it's making so much money with such a small market cap. And that is the sort of thing that makes me look into things like this. Am I recommending Shadow? No, I'm not, but I am saying that this looks like a very exciting project that looks worth deeper diving into if you want to find a Degen gem. I don't like the tokenomics. I will say that. There are definitely better tokenomics, but the amount of revenue that such a small cap project is generating at the moment could make this very interesting to look at. And that is me showing you a little Degen gem potentially. And if you've enjoyed the content, then do subscribe to the channel. And if you want another one of my videos, you can find it just there.